Hello everybody, back from a heat wave ride in Durham Forest here in Ontario. It's like 18, 19 degrees, it's ridiculous. We got some kind of crazy heat wave weather going on here, so I'm taking the advantage of it to ride every day. However, we're back in the deep freeze tomorrow, so that brings up the point of wearing gloves when you're riding. And someone asked me, how do I winter ride? How do I keep my hands warm? So I thought I'd start with summer riding and where I started and where I am now. So here's a set of these Ogc Fingerless Gloves. I used to wear these. They have padding in the palms, through the front here, but I found that with the amount of riding I'm doing, these little ridges along your fingers here tend to bite in and they leave blisters and sore spots. So I don't use these anymore. Some people like them. I haven't tried any others, because I find that since these don't work for me, I moved on. Now, I have a pair of lighter summer riding gloves. I prefer long-fingered gloves now. These are the Ogc ditch gloves. They work well, except when it's really warm and you start sweating. I find these gloves get shifty. The gloves, I don't know if they actually move, but they just feel like my hands are shifting around in them. So they're very much like the hand-up gloves that you see everyone wearing. They've got the nice little booger wiping section. This terry towel back here is good for wiping off lenses and camera lenses. So they work. They're light, they're thin. I just find it feel funny when it's really like 31, 32 and up degrees Celsius and you're really sweating when you're riding. So I don't use them as much in very warm weather. My most preferred riding gloves are these Ogc Montello Pro Gloves. So these gloves fit well. I have another red pair that have been shredded, but I patch them all up. I put little finger patch leather patches on them and they work really well. These go really high up on my wrist, which is where I like them. They are smartphone ready, so you can use them on a smartphone, as are these Ogc ditch. They are comfortable when it's warm or cool or really hot. They don't seem to shift and they form with my hands. This padding in the head just seems to do its job, and there's a little breathing hole. Whether it helps or not, I don't know. There's all these little breathing holes through the fingers themselves. So favorite gloves, unfortunately, I'm an XL glove wearer. You can't get these anymore. I'm quite disappointed by that. It's very unfortunate. You find something you like, you go back to buy them, and they're all gone. Just my luck. Next up, when these disappeared off the market, I started looking for other gloves. So I've got some Kind gloves here. These are a little bit heavier than those. They don't have as much breathability. They are smartphone ready. They fit really well, except I find that they bunch. This little section here bunches up. So if I've been riding for long enough, I get really sweaty. This seems to stretch and it causes blisters on my fingers. They're not as well ventilated, so for cooler riding days, these would be better. Probably you're not going to sweat, so you probably have less of an issue with the stretching. There's a small bit of padding back here, which is okay. I prefer not to have that, but it's what came with the gloves. So these are the Cross X brand, and they're smartphone ready. See those little things there? So you can use your smartphone or your GPS or whatever, use it. Now I also have these Fox gloves, which are kind of the same as the Kind. They are about the same kind of weight. They fit a lot better. They're snugger. They're the same XL, but they're just on better, except they still have this bunching up problem here. These gloves are not vented as much as those, but they don't feel as thick, and they are smartphone ready, and I use these when I'm riding in low teens, high single digit temperatures, and that's Celsius. So these are called dirt paw gloves, right? Anyway, they work. Yeah, these are all my gloves are XL. So I'm not done yet. So now I have a set of these specialized deflect H2O. Now these gloves are really thin, but what's good about them is they're waterproof, and they have a best way to describe it. They have a breathable layer that helps take the sweat away. But there's a problem with these gloves. You know, if you are on a road bike and you're just sitting there, great. But these gloves don't stretch. So if I'm sitting on a mountain bike and I'm trying to reach for the grip, or I'm trying to reach for a Shimano trigger pull on my right hand, you know, I have a 1x. You can see how these gloves are pulling. They don't stretch very well. And on their own, if you get down below about 3 or 4 degrees Celsius, the cold just gets right through these gloves. They are extra large, but what I do find about them is my fingers are jammed in the end. So the issue I'm having is my fingertips get really cold really quickly because the gloves, even though they're XL, all the stretching that I have to do pushes my fingertips to the end. So they're okay. I use them to wash the bikes. I'll use them on days when it's going to be wet and you know, I expect some moisture, rain, snow, or if there's something on the trail that's going to splash up. So not my favorite, right? I bought them, and I'm not going to say I regret it, but I should look for something a little better. Next up, from a long time ago, back in the 90s, there's some Activia Gloves. We used to get these out of these general sports stores. Now these gloves are rock solid, except for one thing. This is just a piece of leather, really tough, but there's nothing under here to insulate your hands. So the cold comes right through. You grab a handlebar and you feel it. Now the backs have this thick padding, and they are, you know, nice. They're stretched. They're the right size. They're XL gloves. Let's see if I can find it. No, these are just large. These aren't XL, but that stretch. Now they're not waterproof, so if you get the back wet enough, you're gonna have moisture coming through. So, but these are from the 90s, and I still have them. They tend to do an okay job. Again, you gotta know what you're riding in, what your conditions are, and just, you know, pick. So that said, I put these aside. Okay, what I've also got is these Sigoi Gloves. I picked these up this season. They are XL. I can't remember the name right now, but have a close look at them. You see, they're unique looking. They really come up high on your wrist. They've got the Velcro strap. They've got an inner leather inner. They are smart phone ready. They are thicker. I bought XL so my hands can fit. I took these out for a ride. When was it? A couple of days ago, and Wednesday, and it was like 1-2 degrees, but it felt like -2 with the wind chill. And I have to say that my index fingers and my thumbs really suffered. Everything else was good, but so these are okay. I don't think they're waterproof on the back here. They're definitely windproof. I haven't tried wetting them to see what happens. So down to about 0 degrees with no wind, they're okay. We'll see. I'm gonna beat the crap out of these during this winter to see what happens, and just sort of give you some feedback later. But they are very comfortable. The stretch is right. They sort of fit like these guys, you know. So you can reach out there, you can hold, you have a lot of movement and flexibility. So we'll see what happens with these. Now I have this pair of snowboarding gloves. I don't even remember where I got these from. To cut all this crap off my head. But these are, you know, I don't know if you're gonna even be able to find these. They have a big G on them. I don't even know what that G is. But they are waterproof, and because they're snowboarding, they tend to fit really well. They have the same flexibility as these. You know, the stretch and the reach. The funny thing is that they're thinner, and being thinner, back your hands get really cold. So nice leather padding. This is warm. You grab something with this, you don't feel it. I think the trick is, while you're riding, to be gripping, like doing this constant squeezing to keep the blood in your fingers, and that seems to help. Now, I have seen lobster gloves where these two fingers are closed up, or even these three, and sometimes you also see where these two fingers and these two, but when you're mountain biking you really want to only have this finger loose and have the other three protected to keep them warm, because they hold on to the handlebar. So you know, I use these out when I'm shoveling, snow blowing, things like that, and these are really nice. But what I discovered last year was, here's the secret: a pair of thin little MEC type gloves. These are, again, touchscreen ready, but they're thin. However, I don't know why, but you put these on underneath any of these gloves, some of them get a little bit tight because of them. But once your hands are in here, this just seems to add some kind of another layer. It's called layering. We do that up here in the north, and it changes the feel of the glove. All of a sudden, everything stays warm, right? A lot longer. So how can I say you can go out for a 6-hour ride and stay warm? But it does help, right? Especially the fact that your hands are always exposed to oncoming wind. Now, I've heard of guys using hot pockets, so you have this little thing packs that you break and you shove them in the back here, and it just keeps the back of your hand warm, so it keeps the entire hand warm. That's an option to investigate. But you know, this is something that works. It works for me, right? Anyway, so that's my collection of gloves. Yes, I have a few gloves. I probably have gloves hidden somewhere I don't even know about, but these are my primary gloves, and you know, I tend to roll with 2 or 3 of them, even in summer or into fall and into winter, just so that if I get somewhere and it's colder than I expect or warmer than I expect, I have options. They're light. If you're driving, just throw them in the back of your vehicle, you know, keep them there for the season. At least you have options, right? So, my 2 cents. Gloves, it's all a personal thing. You're gonna find what works for you. Unfortunately, it's one of these situations where, you know, it's hard to try a pair of gloves on inside, and when you get outside, you know, they can just not do what you want exactly, which can be a bit disappointing, and that can get a bit costly. So if you can find somewhere like MEC that, you know, works with you to try gloves, that you bring them back if they don't work out, you know, that's A+. Some bike shops, you know, if you have a relationship with them, they'll do the same thing. They're pretty good at that because they know that you are a serious biker. You're not just some yahoo off the street looking for a deal. So, you know, be careful on what you pick. How far south, how far north, you know, how hard you want to ride, the kind of trails you're going to ride can dictate what you're going to use. I just find that having selection, and just remember, I've been riding since the 90s, so my selection was built up over time. It's not just I went out yesterday and bought all these gloves, right? That's ridiculous. My 2 cents, you guys pick and choose, careful, you know, keep your popsicle fingers from being popsicles. You don't want frostbite. Makes riding really, really rough when you're missing fingers. But not that you can't do it, you just probably won't enjoy it as much. Anyway, Toronto looks like it's going to be going into a little bit of a lockdown or tighter restrictions, so I don't know how that's going to affect us riding, but we'll try to get out there and stay safe, stay away from everybody. Anyway, remember people, it's your choice to stay alive. You do what's necessary to protect yourself and your family. If you have a mask, just wear it. See you on the trails. Stay safe.